singer and he's guitarist, songwriter.
I'm a guitar songwriter.
Noel Gallagher was keen to crush any rumours that it would be their last.
You know, as long as people want to see it, we'll do it, do you know what I mean? Now, see, I could never leave Oasis. I am Oasis, you know what I mean? I don't think Oasis will ever leave me, so...
Noel Gallagher has announced that he's leaving Oasis because he can't work a day longer with his brother Liam.
You always talk about him with such fond affection, and you do. Of course, man, I love him, but he does blame as well, because we should have split up and we should have made music.
You know what I mean? All that time wasted.
He's going to have to call me. He's going to have to get somebody to call me, because he's been going on about it. And I'm like, okay, well, call us then. Let's see what you've got to say. I dare him.
This is not a drill. I repeat, this is not a drill.
The moment Oasis fans around the world have waited 16 years for has finally come.
It's the news we've all been waiting for. Oasis are officially back, and it's so exciting.
I am not yanking your chain, seriously. They're getting back together. It's on the front page of the papers today.
In entertainment news this morning, Oasis has added Australia to its 2025 reunion tour officially.
Australia, it's your turn. Melbourne becomes Manchester. But before then, we're turning it up and taking you back. This is Supersonic Radio with Sam Menhennet.
Hello, I'm Sam, and this year I'll be seeing Oasis live for the very first time, something I never thought ever possible. For me, I fell into the Oasis wormhole not long after finishing high school, and something just clicked. It was the raw power of the sound, the attitude, the amps, the volume, the vocals. I was transfixed. I didn't grow up in the UK, I wasn't there in the 90s, but somehow that music hit like it was made for that exact moment in my life. Their rise was so quick, so chaotic, that by the time they reached Australia, the focus had already shifted, from the songs to the spectacle. But Oasis to me is so much more than that. I found them with just the songs, a chance to dive in fresh with no preconceptions, no tabloid noise, just the music, and for me, that changed everything. So this show, Supersonic Radio, is a celebration of what's shaping up to be a momentous moment in musical history. Whether you're a lifelong fanatic or just jumping on for the ride, I'll be taking you through it all, from the early days to the split, the solo years, all the way to when they step back here on stage at Marvel Stadium in Melbourne. I'm beyond excited and I cannot wait to share some of my favourite songs, stories and clips with you. So let's start from the very beginning. Liam and Noel Gallagher grew up in Burnage, a working-class suburb in South Manchester. Shaped by football, music and Manchester's tight-knit Irish community, their upbringing wasn't easy. They were raised by their Irish mother Peggy after she moved herself and her 3 boys away from their abusive father Tommy. The environment was rough. Noel was always into his music. However, Liam wasn't and didn't initially aspire to be a singer. In fact, music didn't appeal to him one bit until one particular moment.
My dad was fancied himself as a bit of a DJ, an Irish country and western kind of DJ, so he'd always play that kind of music around the house. My mum wasn't really... She fancied Mick Jagger, but she wasn't really a big fan of music. I mean, she's sure she liked it, but she was not as much as my dad. So that was the first time I was really aware of it. Like the first time I ever really... I mean, obviously I was into football more than music. I know there's lots of people that go, oh, I was into the Beatles when I was 6, good for you and all that, but I was not, you know what I mean? I was really into football and just all that stuff. The first time anything really connected in my head, I got in a bit of trouble at school. I got whacked on the head with this hammer. Yeah, we was in school and I was about 15 and a load of other lads come down from another school. Pulled his hood over and he's gone whack with his hammer on my head. Anyway, I wake up in hospital, I've got a load of stitches in my head, but I got out of double maths, so that was a blessing. But after that, in my head, I believe, I started hearing music, man. Because I wasn't into music at all, I was just into playing football. And the next couple, I was going, fucking hell, I think it was Madonna, Like a Virgin. I was going, that's a fucking tune, actually, man. I'm telling you, it's like when them people come out of comas and they start speaking Japanese.
That infamous hammer story has become part of Liam's mythos. But in his mind, it genuinely flipped a switch. After that, the world sounded different. Music started to matter. For Liam, it was the Stone Roses, the band that blew the doors open. Their look, their attitude, it just clicked.
First band that I ever really got into was the Roses, and that was round about the time I was kind of digging music, you know what I mean? They're my band, man. That album changed my life. It was the first, that was the thing, that was my blueprints of music, you know what I mean? And I remember the first tune was I Want to Be Adored. I remember I think I was still in school anyway, round about that time. And I remember my mate going like that, he going, oh, you got to check this band out, the Stone Roses, it's called it. And I thought it was a Wanna Be a Dog. And obviously I was like, that's a strange title and that. But anyway, yeah, got into the Roses, man, and that was it. That set me on my way. I seen him in '89, just before the album come out. I got in there just as they were coming on. They had the bells. Ian Brown used to come on with these mare bells.
Yeah.
Doom, 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 doom. My mum had let me, like, I think she let me 15, she gave me 15 quid. I think I bought a ticket for a tenner, bought a pint of lager, down the front, having it, and that was it. Blew me away, you know what I mean? They look like us, you know what I mean? They look like people that I hung out with, you know what I mean? That's how we dressed, you know what I mean?
From that moment, he wanted in. Liam joined a local band called The Rain with Paul McGuigan, Paul Arthurs, better known as Bonehead, and Tony McCarroll. Liam wasn't the original frontman, but he quickly took centre stage, bringing attitude, presence, and that unmistakable voice. Not long after, he suggested a new name, Oasis. It came from a poster for an Inspiral Carpets gig. One of the venues listed was the Oasis Leisure Centre in Swindon. While Liam was just getting into music, Noel was already immersed. He had been touring as a guitar tech and roadie with the Inspiral Carpets, watching closely, learning, absorbing how a band operated. Back in Manchester, he started writing songs of his own, influenced by the Beatles, Slade, T-Rex, Neil Young, and the Smiths, among others.
Well, the first band that I remember from the beginning were the Smiths, and they were from Manchester, and they were fucking brilliant. Seeing them for the first pictures of them in the Manchester Evening News and then seeing them on TV, because Morrissey was like no one else before, and there's been no one like him since.
Punctured bicycle on a hillside desolate. Will nature make a man of me, yeah? When in this charming car, this charming man.
And to his left is this kid, and he looked cool as fuck. And the way you read about them, they write the tunes together. And I mean, still a massive fan. But anyway, one day, bumped into this guy who I'd repeatedly bumped into in the Hacienda. Don't know him, don't know his name. And he said, so, what are you up to? And I was like, I was going to rehearsals that night, and I'm in a band. What are you called? Oasis. Have you got a demo tape? I'll play it to our kid. Who's your kid? And he went, Johnny. And I was like, Johnny? And he went, Johnny Marr. And I was like, fuck, what? You're Johnny Marr's brother? Yeah. So anyway, it took him back to my flat, gave him this demo tape, the famous demo tape that we give him McGee, or would give McGee, about 10 days later. Off he goes. I didn't think anything of it. There's a lot of bullshitters in Manchester, glorious blaggers. Was he Johnny Marr's brother? Didn't fucking look anything like him. And then I remember maybe a couple of days, or I can't remember how long after that, coming in, and the phone went, hello, is that Noel? Yeah. Hi, it's Johnny. Right, Johnny Marr. And, really like you, really, yeah, you fucking band, blah, blah, blah. Do you want to go for that? I'll tell you now, it's fucking ludicrous. I was a nobody, right? Nobody knew who Oasis were.
And from there, it didn't take long before things got loud. Here's track 1 from their debut album, Definitely Maybe, Rock and Roll Star. This is Supersonic Radio. Rock and Roll Star on Supersonic Radio. That's the opening statement right there. Not a question, but a declaration. From Burnage to the big time. It wasn't a question of if, it was when. Back in Manchester in 1991, Liam had joined a band called The Rain. They were raw, loud, missing something or someone.
Actually, the story begins, I'm in Munich with the Inspiral Carpets, and I do my weekly phone call home to my mum. Oh, where are you? Oh, I'm in Munich. Oh, like blah, blah, blah. You know, how's Liam? Oh, he's in some band. What? In a band? He's in some band. Who with? Oh, with Bonehead. Bonehead? What? Is it a comedy? What? Oh, I don't know. He's in some band. I was like, oh, fucking hell. I didn't think anything of it. And so that tour finished and came home. I was still living at home, obviously, sharing a bedroom with Liam. And he's like, yeah, I'm in a fucking band. No, you know. They were doing a gig, which was coming up. We went to see him. I remember going with Clint and Graham, and they were pretty good. You know, they had this one great song called Take Me. As the years went by, I used to say to them, look at it, it's fucking great. I mean, it really is.
Take me when I'm young and true. Was it me or was it you? Take me when I'm not so strong. Why has it taken you so long?
And, you know, he's my little brother and all that, and it's like, fucking hell, man. After the gig, Liam was like, fucking hell, will you be our manager? And I was like, what? I remember being at home one Sunday and Liam saying, come and have a jam with us down at, they were practicing in a place called the Red House. Come and have a jam with us. And I was like, I can't be arsed. And he was like, come and have a jam with us, you lazy bastard. I remember going down and they had their few tunes, whatever they were, 3 or 4, 5 tunes, whatever it was, and kind of playing along with them, and it was all right, it's a good laugh.
But I knew that we definitely needed some proper songs, and none of us were really good songwriters, and I just knew our kid would be like, he'd be a little bit jealous, and he'd be thinking, right, he's in a band, because he was always writing songs, and he'd been in a few little bands, but they never really amounted so much, you know what I mean? Just mates round the corner and that. So I just knew if I get him in this band, we'll be away. And then obviously when he started writing the songs, I knew that we'd be big, man.
And I remember after the second time I went down, Liam saying, yeah, you must have loads of songs. Play one. And I was like, all right, well, you do this, you play that, you know, show them what to play. And then everybody, I can't remember what song it was, and everybody joined in. And it was at that moment when I heard a song that I'd written come to life, I was like, fucking a massive awakening. And it was instant. And I was like, oh my God, this sounds fucking great. Everything that I've been doing at home, I'm not writing these songs at home for anything, but I'm kind of fucking around. And it's all, you know, like when I'm writing a song, I hear it all in my head. And then I was like, and it sounds exactly like it did in my head. This is amazing. And then it was like, okay, right, well, I've got this other one. And then it just went from there, you know, and they were fucking like mad Sunday afternoons where it was the start.
From track 5 from Definitely Maybe, this is Columbia on Supersonic Radio. Columbia on Supersonic Radio. That was Oasis's first ever released track, issued in June 1993 as a white label 12-inch promo. It wasn't a commercial single, just a limited run sent out to DJs and tastemakers across the UK. But it became the first Oasis song to get airplay on BBC Radio 1, helping generate serious buzz ahead of Definitely Maybe. I've always loved this tune. It's got that relentless hypnotic groove. You can hear the dance sensibilities loud and clear. It's very much born out of the Manchester era, so the crossover of indie rock with acid house energy. From the early 90s, so bands like Happy Mondays came out of this scene too. Original drummer Tony McCarroll once said about this track, when we started, we didn't have a lot of songs, so we would jam out our current acid house favourites, and Columbia derived from one of those nights. But at this point, Oasis was still just beginning to take shape. No manager, no label, no money. Just belief and a handful of rough demos passed around. Then came May 1993 at King Tut's Wawa Hut in Glasgow. Yes, that's a real place. Not even on the bill, but tagging along with their boardwalk rehearsal roommates, the Sister Lovers, they jumped in a van, scraped together petrol money, and made the 5-hour trip from Manchester. Once there, they talked their way in and onto the lineup. In the crowd that night, purely by chance, was Alan McGee, head of Creation Records.
I was at a gig and I had a couple of little bands at this gig. And I went to the sound check and my friend Debbie Turner had brought this bunch of scallies up called Oasis.
Yes.
And I saw Liam Gallagher lying on a kind of like on a stool, kind of lying back. And I thought he looked like George Best. But then I thought, that'll be the drug dealer, do you know what I mean, of the band. But, you know, about an hour later, I went on upstairs. Somebody went, oh, that band have come on. Because there was a kind of skirmish about would Oasis play, blah, blah, blah. And, you know, because it was unannounced. But anyway, they got upstairs and then I saw Bring It Up, Bring It On Down was amazing. And I thought, God, it's really good. Well, usually bands fourth on the bill are rubbish. Do you know what I mean? And this was fully formed. And by the time they went into Rock and Roll Star, I was like, I'm going to sign them. And then they done Up in the Sky was the third song. And that was brilliant. They got to the fourth song and Liam went, we're going to do a Beatles song. And I just thought, you got to remember, this is May 1993. When people used to cover Beatles songs, it was usually rubbish, right? And it was, they all destroyed the Beatles. So I was like, oh, I'm not going to say no, but this is rubbish.
So they nearly blew it.
Yeah, nearly, except they played I Am the Walrus as Oasis play it, and it was brilliant. And at that point, I was like, to Coyley, who was doing the sound, I said, go and get the leader of the band. I said, is there a manager? No. Go and get the leader of the band. And this guy, Noel Gallagher, trots down. And then I just went, I went, do you want a record deal? And he didn't know who I was. And he went, who was? And I went, Creation. And he went, are you Creation? I went, yeah. And he went, yeah. I mean, I just thought they were a good band because I loved the Stone Roses, right? And when I saw Oasis, I just thought, if I get this record out before the Stone Roses' second album, I can get some of the Stone Roses crowd.
By early 1994, Oasis was signed to Creation Records and ready to record their debut single. The plan was to go with Bring It On Down, a snarling, punky tune that had been part of their live set. But during the session in Liverpool, something changed. Noel wasn't happy with how it sounded. He stepped away with his acoustic, and within 30 minutes he returned with a new song.
Funnily enough, we couldn't get the drumming right. Somebody said, well, why don't you just go and write one?
What I remember from that day is Noel being really busy, sat in the corner, just sort of scribbling away and strumming around. He was writing these lyrics, and which is what he did, you know. It's like, all right, Noel's doing that. Next thing is like, right in the room, come on, check this out.
The lyrics were written in one go, and it took no more than half an hour to write, I would have.
Yeah, it's very fast, right?
I would play it through on acoustic guitar, and everybody would I think Bonehead and Griggs would then start writing the chords down, because I don't know what chords are. I was just left there, and I just wrote the first things that came into my head.
Do that, change that, right? Press record, let's go. And we did it, and it was done in the day.
We just said, well, if we don't get anything to show Creation, well, at least we've gone down. We've got a new tune. At least they won't think we're a bunch of chancers. We left here that night and listened to it in the car on the way home about 20 times. I was like, fucking hell, man, that sounds mega.
Released in April 1994, Supersonic became their debut single, peaking at number 31 on the UK singles charts. Here's Supersonic on Supersonic Radio.
To be myself, I can't be no one else. I'm feeling supersonic. Give me gin and tonic. You can have it all, but how much do you want it? Make me laugh.
That was Supersonic, and off the back of that, Oasis were ready to make some noise. Next up was the follow-up single, Shaker Maker. Released just 2 months later, in June 1994, it continued to showcase the band's charm and chaos, but not without a bit of controversy. The original lyrics and melody borrowed heavily from the Coca-Cola jingle, I'd Like to Teach the World to Sing, originally by the New Seekers. Oasis ended up settling the case, reportedly paying around $500,000 in damages. In early live versions, Liam even sang the line, I'd like to buy the world a Coke. Unsurprisingly, Noel had to rewrite the final verse before recording the studio version. Years later, he joked the band have only drunk Pepsi ever since. Musically, Shaker Maker is more woozy and psychedelic than what came before. A dreamy tune built around a circular guitar riff. It's Noel in full stream of consciousness, drawing from memories of British childhood pop culture. There's Mr. Soft, a character from a 1970s Trebor Mints commercial. Mr. Ben, a beloved British cartoon about a man who visits a fancy dress shop. And Mr. Sifter, the real-life owner of Sifter's Records in Burnage, where Noel and Liam bought music growing up. In 2018, I visited the second-hand record shop. The actual Mr. Sifter was there, Pete, and he was bemused when I asked if he had Oasis records for sale, saying he'd be in the Bahamas if he had. I had not realised it was strictly second-hand. Shaker Maker peaked at number 11 on the UK singles chart, their first top 20 hit. Here's Noel talking about the final verse.
Me and Liam were driving in the back of somebody's Cortina or something on the way to the studio, and Liam said, "Have you got a last verse?" And I didn't have anything, not fucking one word did I have. And I said, "No." And he said, "Well, what are we going to sing? We'll get that." I said, "Don't worry about it, man. You know, don't worry about it." And we passed Sifters and we stopped at the traffic lights outside. And just fucking sat in the back and wrote it in my head. And then Liam went into Johnny's studio, sung it, took about, I don't know, 10 minutes. And that was that.
Shaker Maker on Supersonic Radio. If you're just joining me, I'm Sam Menhennet and I'm diving deep into the wild early days of Oasis and the debut album Definitely Maybe, in celebration of the band's 2025 reunion tour. You can follow the show on Facebook and Instagram at Supersonic Radio Pod. As the band continued their meteoric rise after signing with Creation, the gigs got wilder, the crowds got bigger, and the buzz even louder. This was pre-internet. Buzz travelled on bootleg tapes, gig stories, and the sheer thrill of being there. Every night felt like on the edge of chaos. One of the most infamous early moments came at the Riverside in Newcastle on August 9, 1994. Midway through the set during Bring It On Down, a bloke from the crowd jumped onto the stage and punched Noel in the face, splitting his lip. The show was abandoned just after 5 songs. To make it worse, Noel's prized Gibson Les Paul custom guitar, a gift from Johnny Marr and once owned by Pete Townsend of The Who, was damaged in a scuffle. As the band left, a mob of 300 people attacked the band's minibus. Moments like that only fueled their reputation, raw, unpredictable, and unmissable live. And one track that always lit the place up was Cigarettes and Alcohol. Released as the 4th single from Definitely Maybe on October 10, 1994, it became a working-class anthem and their first top 10 hit. Peaking at number 7 in the UK, it's pure rebellion in a riff. For me, it's personal. It's my most streamed Oasis song. The first time I ever heard it blaring in a bar, it just hit different. Forget the cliches, it really was turned up to 11. The amp hiss that you could hear at the start of the track, it stood out. Its DNA traces back to rock and roll history, the main riff, of course, nodding heavily to T-Rex's Get It On, which itself was inspired by Chuck Berry's Little Queenie. But Liam's vocal makes it entirely their own. Here's Noel, Alan McGee, and Liam himself on his vocal delivery.
We'd run through the song, I'd sing it, he'd sit there with the words. He always was great at picking things up, and you wouldn't have to talk him through anything. Great tone. What I always liked about it in the studio was you didn't have to fuck around with it. He would always want this John Lennon thing, always.
Oh,
make it sound like,
yeah.
They'd be like, you don't need it. You know, it's just like, it's fucking...
John Lennon didn't need it.
Yeah, I know. And Alan McGee, I do remember the one night we were doing Cigarettes and Alcohol for some, I think it might have been in Manchester, in the radio station. And he did the Sunshine for the first time. And McGee said, sounds like Johnny Rotten, it's fucking great. And our kid went, oh, God, right, well, that's it then. Forevermore. You know.
So, for a week, he's on every single line.
Everything was...
Noel's like an amazing writer, but then on top, you've got this kind of like really unusual singer. Do you know what I mean? You know, and Well, you get an unusual human being as well, right? But I mean, it's like this really unusual singer that interprets Noel's songs.
I bring a bit of passion, and I bring a bit of belief, and I bring a bit of fucking power, and a bit of you know, bit of attitude, and a bit of honesty. Every time I sing a song, it's like fucking, you know, this could be the last song that I ever fucking sing, so let's have it, you know.
Okay, you'll want to turn this one up. Here's Cigarettes and Alcohol on Supersonic Radio.
Is it my imagination, or have I finally found something worth living for? I was looking for some action, but all I found was cigarettes and alcohol.
Oasis with Cigarettes and Alcohol on Supersonic Radio. Oasis had both the songs and the swagger, but when it came to recording, they struggled to bottle that energy. The sessions at Mono Valley Studios in Wales fell flat. The tracks came back lifeless, a far cry from the ferocity they had on stage. Here's Noel, Bonehead and Alan McGee.
I actually thought when we was in Mono Valley that it sounded all right, but of course I'd never actually heard the band live because we were always on stage, and he was going, it's just not right, you know. And Alan McGee was going, it doesn't sound like you lot. So we were sort of taking their word for it, really. It was a good couple of weeks before it was decided we were going to scrap it, wasn't it?
Yeah. Noel obviously very worried. I mean, this is songs that he's written. They're coming out of speakers sounding like that, not giving him any justice.
I think I was given the task of going in and telling Jeremy Pierce at Sony that the £40,000 or £50,000 that he'd put up to record the Oasis album was going in the bin, essentially, and we needed more money. And he unbelievably went kind of like, yeah, OK, fine.
I'll always respect McGee for that. He just said, look, you know, fucking go and do it again. And we were like, you sure? And he was like, just go and do it again because you've got to get it right. And off we went to Cornwall.
Next stop was the Sawmill Studios in Cornwall. Only reachable by boat, the setting was beautiful, but the results weren't. Yet again, the band were disappointed.
We went up to McGee's flat that night, and we'd been mixing Columbia for about, I think it was about the 100th mix. And we got there, and before we pressed play on the tape recorder, we said, before we start, this is the fucking bollocks. Wait till you hear this. And if you don't fucking like this, me and him are washing our hands of the album, and you're going to have to get somebody else to mix it. And it come on, and we sat there, and the minute it fucking come on, the pair of us just went, it sounds fucking awful. It was fucking rubbish. And of course, McGee's like, we're going to have to get someone else to mix it.
It was a really balls out rock and roll, really, which we well wanted, but we kind of didn't know how to kind of get.
Enter Owen Morris, the Welsh sound engineer. With nothing to lose, Morris ripped apart the existing mixes, crushing guitars, pushing Liam's vocals centre stage, cutting reverb and slamming down compression to create what he had later called the brick-walling sound. His approach was loud, aggressive and in your face, exactly how Oasis sounded in pubs and clubs.
Well, I just turned up in Loco Studios in Wales. We did a weekend, we did Rock and Roll Star in Columbia first, and Liam had to sing Rock and Roll Star. I don't think there was a vocal on it. So he sang that just straight off, a couple of takes, told him he sounded like John Lennon, so he thought I was fucking great, you know. He was happy, Noel did a bit of singing on it, and I just mixed it.
The first factor definitely maybe that should be acknowledged is Owen Morris really was, like, he took the record and he really did give it an aggression.
Most of the mixing was out of necessity. All the ultra compression. There was a new box out at the time, and I was the first person to make CDs be fucking on the red line constantly. There are no dynamics. There are no, like, it's just full on all the fucking way. It worked in fucking jukeboxes around the country, man, for that first fucking year. Oasis came on louder than everybody else, and it was fucking fantastic. So you just get this sort of wall of noise.
And just like that, definitely maybe had its sound. Among the tracks that benefited the most was Bring It On Down, written as the outsider's anthem, aimed directly at the establishment. Noel described it as for the kids who feel left out and left behind. Its snarling energy made it a cornerstone of the album. Here's Bring It On Down. Bring it on down on Supersonic Radio. Next up is a song that transformed Oasis from a promising band into a generational voice. Written by Noel Gallagher back in 1991, it was one of the first songs he ever brought to the band, and it immediately stood out. At a time where grunge bands in the early 90s leaned into despair, Oasis offered something else, defiance and hope. Noel has often said he wrote it as a direct response to Nirvana's I Hate Myself When I Want to Die, to prove that music didn't have to wallow in misery. It could lift you up. Released as their third single in August 1994, Live Forever became Oasis's first ever top 10 hit, peaking at number 10, and today it's still ranked among the greatest British rock songs ever written. Here's Noel and Bonehead remembering how Live Forever came to be.
But the first song that I wrote when I thought, right, this is it, was a couple of years before it came out. I wrote Live Forever one night and took it down to the rehearsal room the next day and said to the lads, you play that and you join in here. And it was so good that Bonehead to this day still thinks that I didn't write it. Still to this day he'll say, you never wrote that.
Well, I wouldn't believe it. For someone to come in a room and just go, I'll play one of my songs and then play You Live Forever, it's like, fuck off. You didn't write that. And he's like, why didn't I? I was like, because listen to it, you know. Wow, what a song. You didn't write it. Yeah, I did. No, I didn't.
I knew enough about music and about songs to know that that was a great song. And then one followed another. And it's like, no, this is happening now. Even if no one else takes any notice of it, this is happening.
Live Forever on Supersonic Radio. Now, we didn't get to fit in every track from Definitely Maybe, but these remaining songs absolutely deserve a mention. Up in the Sky, track 4 on the album, is a politically tinged tune that's often overlooked. Noel's lyrics take a sarcastic swipe at politicians and so-called authority figures. It's got that signature Oasis chugging riff, and Liam delivers it with a real sneer. It was actually a staple of their early live sets, even opening some of their shows in 1994. Digsy's Dinner, track 9, is a proper curveball, a cheeky, whimsical tune written about Noel's mate Digsy, real name Paul Wayne. It's literally a song about going round to someone's house for lasagna. Noel has said he was surprised it made the album, but he kept it in to break up the seriousness of everything else. Alan McGee later told XFM he believed it was actually a parody of Oasis Britpop rivals Blur. I think it was a piss take of Blur, McGee said. I don't think Noel's ever admitted that. It's a piss take of that Britpop thing. It was Noel proving that he could do that in his sleep. And finally, Married with Children, the lo-fi closer, track 11. This was recorded in producer Mark Coyley's bedroom in Manchester on a little 4-track machine, with just Noel on an acoustic guitar. The inspiration? Noel was playing late one night and his then girlfriend, fed up with the noise, told him, "Your music's shite," so naturally he wrote a song about it. Definitely Maybe was released on the 29th of August 1994 and went straight to number 1 in Britain, becoming the fastest selling debut album in UK history at the time. With over 86,000 copies sold in its first week, it's since been certified 9 times platinum in the UK and platinum in the US. With a worldwide sales topping 15 million, more than just a debut, it helped define the Britpop era. Voted the greatest album ever by NME readers in 2006 and still ranked among the Rolling Stones' top 500 albums of all time, and is personally my favourite. Here's Noel, Liam, Bonehead and Alan McGee on hitting number 1 and reflecting on the album.
All of a sudden you were in Oasis and you were at number 1. That's what changed. It was like, God, we've got a number 1 record.
It was just a relief, you know, that everyone else kind of liked it, you know. It was just like, fucking hell, well, you know, there is people out there that think and breathe and, you know, like us.
We seem to catch the mood of the mid-90s, you know, between 93 to 98.
It's a really punk rock record. I mean, it's by far, I think, the best Oasis record, and I think probably the band probably would agree with that as well.
Somebody came along and gave us a chance and just went, well, I like what you're doing there. Here you go, have that, get in, record it and see what you can come up with.
You know, they're the first batch of songs we made. They're the first batch of songs we put on a record. Whether people liked it or not, we'd still be playing them because we're proud of them.
Yeah, no, I love it, you know. And not only musically, because because for what it meant to people.
There's one more tune to close us out. A fan favourite, a live staple, and for many, the greatest love song Oasis ever wrote. This is the moment Liam and Noel step back on stage together. For the first time in over 15 years, recorded at the very first gig of the Live 25 tour. From Cardiff, this is Slide Away on Supersonic Radio. Thank you very much for listening to the first episode. Join us next week as we take a look at What's the Story Morning Glory. For the meanwhile, you can follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Supersonic Radio Pod.